Welcome to the Geek Homeworld. I am your host, Ed, aka Savage Tech Man. We talk sci-fi, TV, movies, superheroes, and all from a geek perspective. You can find us on Blogger, Google+, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We're everywhere. Join the Geek Homeworld. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Geek Homeworld podcast. I'm your host, Ed Ciucevich, and joining me once again is Scott Schreiber. Welcome, Scott.
Hey, thank you, Ed. Thanks for having me back.
This is a take two.
Yeah. 21st century problems, technology issues yesterday.
Yeah, technology and storms and everything else. We're talking on this episode. First off, just the preliminaries. We're Geek Homeworld. We're a podcast about film, television, just geek-related things, and some things that aren't so geeky we still talk about. We both have a great love for film and TV, the production side of it, and being the spectators, the ones in the theater. And we got some good news coming up on a future episode. Everybody's probably heard about. But that's a teaser, I guess. But anyway, you can find us Geek Homeworld.
At least people that care know about it. AMC is back.
Yeah, AMC is back. But that's not the episode this is going to be. We had one planned, and we're going to do that, and then we'll talk about AMC, but we're glad you're back, AMC. We'll go into great depth on that later. But on this episode, we're talking about HBO Max is our big focus. By the way, I was going to say, you can find us on Twitter at Geek Homeworld. I'm always looking for interesting people to talk to, and now I've got this Zoom ability. We can now do it in video, and we're also on Facebook if you want to go over there and follow that page there. A lot of good content on there. And I have a Geek Homeworld gaming channel that I'm trying to work on that. I'm building that slowly, so we'll see how that comes. All part of the brand. But anyway, let's talk about HBO Max and the content that it has on it. Kind of surprising right off the bat, would you say, for the amount of content?
I mean, it's extensive. They had to roll it out to compete with the other giants like Netflix and and Prime and Hulu. So they did a great job. They have a huge catalog. I mean, obviously, you get everything that HBO's ever produced, and that's huge on its own. I mean, I know a lot of people have cut the cord now. People don't have cable boxes as much anymore, so HBO Max is now the way for everybody to get HBO content. But if you already pay for HBO and through your cable company, you get HBO Max. You just have to go through the app right now, which we were discussing the other day, how frustrating that is. You can't get the app on your cable box yet, but hopefully they'll get that worked out. But anyway, that's the one drawback right now. Most everything else is pretty much positive. The catalog is really extensive. They've got new originals coming out too, including the new movie that came out with Seth Rogen just dropped, American Pickle. I'm interested to see that. I'm a Seth Rogen fan. He is my doppelganger after all. And then Search Party as well is a good show on there that was a TBS original, but it moved over to HBO Max, and that's going to be exclusive on HBO Max. So there are going to be things that are exclusive to it. There's also an Amy Schumer, I believe, show up there. Also,
Expecting Amy, yeah.
Not Too Late show with Elmo as well. There's a lot of kids, a lot of kids content. That's kind of a show like John Oliver. It's like a kids version of the John Oliver show.
John Oliver show.
So there's a lot of kids content. We'll see that as we get into it here, but extensive for every age group. They've really covered it. They've got the classics with Turner Classic Movies, and then they've got all the kids entertainment, and then they got all the popular films. I mean, they've got every Harry Potter film up there right now, and I know that would be a huge draw for a lot of people. So.
Yeah, it would. Especially if you're a Potterhead or whatever, you're gonna love to see anything Harry Potter. And I thought I read that she's working on a new book, possibly. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
not.
she. I don't know. After all the controversy, what
She keeps
you know.
changing things and modifying. She's George Lucasing a few things here and there, and never happy with the finished product. One of the things I'm excited for, and probably the biggest reason I wanted HBO Max was the Snyder cut, and they're getting the actual money to
Yeah.
finish the film the way Zack Snyder intended Justice League, and
So that's
so
a huge part of their content too, is the whole DC universe,
right,
animated series, and
right,
all the films.
and what Marvel does best, and what they do not so good is what DC does best, and that's the animated features. They are fantastic, and I mean there's not all of them are on there, but the majority of them are on there, like Superman, Batman, just all the Justice League. I hate to call them cartoons, animated features. I don't know. And now, of course, they get into stuff like The Killing Joke, which they're starting to pull from the actual comics, and that's when I think that may have been the first one that had an R rating, and it was actually quite disturbing. The book, the graphic novel, I have it, and it's quite disturbing. And if you see this, there's one thing they do in it, and I don't want to spoil it because I don't know if you're not as big of a like DC comic fan, so um,
Yeah, I haven't done the reading
yeah,
as much as you have.
you haven't done the reading, and but The Killing Joke was very faithful to the book, except there's one part of the story that is not, and it makes it kind of creepy, not in a good way. But The Killing Joke is on there. The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and Part 2, the animated, has nothing really to do with Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight.
No.
Um, I mean, he drew some elements from it, but it's really a dark kind of Watchmen-esque kind of world. It's a you know almost like a dystopian kind of future, and it's a darker side of Batman that you see, and Superman's
No.
in there too. And I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but one of my favorites is Justice League War, where they fight Darkseid, and I just really think that that's kind of like what is done in that animated um, film is kind of what I want to see in the Snyder cut, and looks like we'll be getting something close to it. And the Flashpoint paradox, which is what they were gonna, and what they still may be doing with the Ezra Miller Flash film, if it ever gets made and ever comes out to theaters. Um, and there's one called New Frontier. It's really kind of old school animation, and it's really back to the golden age of superheroes, and it's really done well. It's one that stands up over time, but there's so much many more in there, and just to have those all in one place. And I believe Teen Titans, the live series, I think is on HBO Max too, or it's
Yeah,
going
I
to
think
be.
that's through the Cartoon Network, I believe, that because they've got a little
Right,
subsection there, a little hub for that. And that,
right.
yeah, all that stuff, all those animated series you name, like those are all things that I've never ever even delved into, and
Yeah,
because I just always watched the films, and I never
right.
really, dipped my toe in the water with the animated series, and now I can full force. And they're all there. And but all those classic films that why I love DC growing up are all up there too.
Like the Christopher Reeve Superman
Yeah,
films,
yeah,
the good
yeah.
and the bad.
No, the Richard Donner films there.
Yeah,
He did, the first. I know he did at least the first one,
yeah. He
and
was
then
like
all
filming one
the
and two at the same time, and
yeah,
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 and all the
and
Batman
then
films.
Batman. I mean, the Michael Keaton. You can have your debate who's better, Michael Keaton, Christian Bale. The
Ben
other
Affleck.
ones,
Some
do they
people even
deserve
like
to be
Affleck.
in? And no offense to Clooney and who else is it? Clooney. Well, you got to
Val
throw Adam.
Kilmer.
Oh, Val. Okay, Val, and you
Yeah,
got to throw Adam West in there just for nostalgia's
of
sake.
course, of course. And there's even, you might appreciate, there's actually there was two of them on there, and on the animated films, and they actually did in the style of the original Batman TV series. They did an animated one that Adam West and Burt Ward did the voices for, so it was pretty cool. Now, by the time they did the second one, Adam West had passed on, so
Yeah.
but I believe they're both up there. Um, in the DCEU, whether it still exists or not, I don't even think
Right.
DC knows really, because
Yeah.
they're going through a massive shakeup as we're recording this. We're recording this August 13th, so yeah, they're going through a massive shakeup. Thousands of people getting laid off, a big restructuring. Jim Lee, who everybody in comics know, they thankfully didn't let him go. He is a vast. He's probably the Kevin Feige. I can never say it. Feige. Fill in the blank.
Any pronunciation is
Asian
correct.
is
Pronounce
correct.
any pronunciation is
Any
correct.
pronunciations. There you go.
I think that was a blissful blunder there, huh?
Yeah. But he's been with them a while, and he's a superly talented individual that gets the stories and the true grit of the characters, and so he's still going to be there in some creative capacity with DC. So we're going to see what AT&T has to do with that, because apparently they own DC, and it's a big corporate mess. Who knows?
So yeah, we'll see where they go after Birds of Prey. I think everything but Birds of Prey is up there. On
Yeah, Doom Patrol is an original there, and I have not seen it yet. I know I'm late to the game on this, but
I just watched the pilot the other day, so I started it, and it's unique. It's definitely different. So
yeah.
I'm looking forward to watching some more episodes.
And of course, the Harley Quinn movie. I don't even remember the Emancipation and blah blah blah. Just everybody called it the Harley Quinn movie.
Is that up there?
I think it is. I thought I saw it up there.
It's already up there. Okay.
I don't know. I've got the app literally right here on my phone.
Yeah,
So
let's double check that, because that's kind of important. Because if people knew what that was up there, they might go.
there's a Harley Quinn animated. They got Watchmen, the Batwoman TV series, Supergirl. Oh, these are just the ones featured.
It may just be
Joker.
Suicide Squad that they had on there.
You're gonna make me look really hard here and try to find it. Suicide Squad is up here. Okay, iconic villains. They've got a lot of like they have Assault on Arkham. These are some of the iconic villains. They have a whole section, which is pretty cool here.
Yeah. So the quick answer to that is no. Birds of Prey is not up there yet. I think Suicide Squad's up there, and there's the picture of Harley Quinn selling it, but that's why you might think Birds of Prey is on there. Not up there yet, which makes sense. I mean, it just came out this year, so.
I'm looking here. Talk to yourselves real quick, because I'm like, I see there's a Harley Quinn animated.
No, I just looked it up, so we gotta.
You did? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it's
Well,
fine.
I trust you.
Yeah.
But
yes, please trust me.
Yeah, and in case you wanted the worst Superman live action, which is terrible, there's Supergirl from like '84. It's up there, so they've got everything.
That one with what was the actress' name?
She showed up in in some of the later incarnations, like Supergirl and different things. Helen Slater.
But yes, doesn't she play her mother in the TV show?
I think so, yeah. And but yeah, there's things like Doom Patrol, like we talked about, and I'm gonna get into watching that. Like, I think I have more stuff on my list of things that I want to watch on HBO Max than I do on Netflix, and my Netflix list is pretty long, including my Prime, and I'm gonna be broke before you know it with all the streaming services. But yeah, all those classic films, all the Batman, Superman films, that I never get tired of watching those. So some of them I do, but I'm glad that they're up there. We talked about Watchmen, the Watchmen film, which I think is required. It's one of the best superhero or anti-superhero or whatever kind of dystopian future films. It's a fantastic film, and the series, which we may touch on later, that's gotten 10 trillion nominations for it, that
Yeah, I
came on
mean, we can
HBO.
talk
Is
about it
amazing.
now.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's great that it's gotten the recognition it deserves. It's 26 Emmy nominations after
fantastic.
it really got overlooked at the Golden Globes, which made was kind of curious, but yeah, so it's getting all the accolades. If you haven't seen it, it really enlightened half the country to the Tulsa massacre.
It
So
did, that's a shame. We weren't taught about it in school, and that was 99 years ago, the recording of this. So, so topical. And when I first watched it, I was like, okay, what does this have to do with the Watchmen mythos? And then it plays brilliantly into it, and you see why. And it really gives a more of a depth to the Watchmen film, which, if you've ever read the graphic novel, is like extensive. I mean, it has within it, there are like possible movie prospects for like the Black Freighter. They did there's like a whole, just one scene in the Watchmen film, and there's this whole Black Freighter. It's about like a pirate ship and stuff, and it's animated and all that, but they did a whole thing on that just out of different parts of the Watchmen film. So when you look at the series, it really ties in well, and it was fantastic. It was definitely one of my favorites. And
yeah,
help me out on the
and
name of the lead actress. It is
Regina King.
Regina King.
You go and watch. She's one of those actresses that you go back and watch movies from the '90s and the 2000s. She's in everything.
Yeah,
And it's like she's one of the hardest working actresses ever, and is finally getting the credit she deserves. So
by all means, yeah. She
she's
totally needs it. Needs
yeah. I
the
mean, because she's
recognition.
won a few, I think, Emmys for different shows before Watchmen. So I
Yeah,
mean, she was knocking out of the park before this. So yeah, she's awesome. Jeremy Irons got nominated, I know, for his performance, and
yeah,
a few other areas. So
yeah.
uh,
I don't even want to. Well, mentioning that, there's a little bit of spoil, but if you've seen the previous for it, you already know, and if you've seen Watchmen, you know who he
So
is.
of
So
course, a lot of people are clamoring for another season. Damon Lindelof said he
me
won't
too.
do it.
Yeah,
I'm fine. I'm fine with them doing another season. It's just Damon Lindelof won't be a part of it, and they can do a totally separate story and chapter. Just get away from that completely, and kind of like an anthology series. If they do it that way, it'll work. Because I
yeah.
just don't see Damon Lindelof's not going to do another one, and he's even if they wave a bunch of money, I just don't think he's going to. He's stuck
I
to his guns so
I
far.
I think it's the creative nature of himself that, the money
Yeah,
doesn't matter. It's can he be true to the story of it all, and by him not doing it, I respect that just as much as him taking a chance and doing the
because
series. And
and
yeah,
obviously we can't ruin the ending of it for people that are out there, but
no, definitely
to
not.
me, it is a perfectly wrapped series. It's like it's just a perfectly one and done
Right.
season.
I was thinking, like, where else would you take it? But I didn't think they would take it to where they took it, and they actually made it real by accessing as a major plot of Watchmen. What happened in Tulsa 99 years ago. And so, I mean, it really is so part of the vernacular of what's going on in this country in 2020. So a very important series, and I hope it wins every single award. Um, so if any of you are like older films, where you're not special effects heavy or at all, before special effects, and you like good actors and good actresses and good writing, and not to say that we don't have that now, but TCM, which is Turner Classic Movies, is part of HBO Max, and there are some fantastic films that I guarantee the
Yeah,
majority of you out there have not seen, that you
yeah.
should
Like
see.
if you were to look at like the AFI top 100 list of all time, or all the movies that you're supposed to have seen, if you like good film, they're here. They're up
Citizen
there.
Kane.
Yeah.
Gosh, I can't think of any right now. Well, I guess I could look in the app, couldn't I? um,
Why would you do that?
who knew that?
There's a lot of. It seems like they have a deal with the Criterion Collection. If any of you out there are familiar with that that brand of they they market their Blu-rays and DVDs through this, and it
It's
has remastered and bonus features. And but TCM has partnered with them because they've got a ton of the movies that are through the Criterion Collection, like Akira Kurosawa films,
yeah.
Charlie Chaplin films, Ingmar Bergman films, all these great foreign films.
They
Go
have
ahead. Go ahead. What'd you
musicals,
find?
musicals like Wizard of Oz,
Right, the classics, everything you would think. Yeah.
A Star is Born, A Star is Born with
Which one?
Chris, both of them, or at least two of them.
There's like
Uh,
5 of them,
I
but
know there's like 4 or 5. Yeah, so they have the Chris Christopherson, is it Barbara Streisand version, and then
Barbara.
Barbara, and then they have the is that gosh, what's her name? Somewhere Over the Rainbow, Judy Garland, I guess is, I don't know. But they have a lot of stuff in there.
Clang.
They have Xanadu. I don't know if you can see that.
I mean,
I
I
mean,
mean, it is. It's and some of those are cult classics they've got.
and then they have a section based on a book like The Adventures of Robin Hood. It was the live action version. That may be what's the dude's name? Errol Flynn and Olivia de Havilland, Basil Rathbone. I mean,
Yeah,
Gone with the Wind. They've got Lord of the Flies. This is the one I was telling you about. This sounds interesting. The Testament of Dr. Mabuse.
okay.
Um,
I'll admit I haven't heard that one. I don't know
Rudolph
that one.
Klein Rogue. Okay, it just seems like a criminal mastermind uses hypnosis to rule the rackets after death, whatever that means. So it's a 1933 film. So that's an idea, and they have remakes
No, I
of that.
mean, just
But
think of the classics: Exorcist, Maltese Falcon.
right,
What else? I mean, everything you can
they have
think of.
80s comedies in here. Uncle Buck, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Weird Science, all the National Lampoon Vacation films, Pee Wee's Big Adventure.
There
Gosh,
you go.
they have,
Let's just keep listing movies.
yeah, I know. Well, but it's like tons of them. But
But yeah, so that's exciting with Turner Classic. I mean,
mhm.
especially for me, somebody that loves foreign cinema, and like especially in a time when Parasite just won Best Picture. I think it's a time for people to maybe delve into more of the foreign cinema and
Totally,
stuff like Kurosawa and Bergman and who else?
Chaplin.
There, I mean, well, Chaplin's essentially American. I mean, I think he
Yeah,
might have been
yeah. I'm
born in
sorry.
England. I can't remember, but he's still people definitely need to watch Chaplin. Don't stop that. So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
there's so many great
that's
films.
that is the most exciting part of the content for me as a film buff. So
Hmm.
I now have access to all these to go back and watch.
Well, so far the most popular has been under what they call kids and animated entertainment, Looney Tunes,
Yes,
classic
yeah,
ones and new ones. Of course, we know that they've edited out. Is it Elmer Fudd? They took the guns out or something. I don't know,
yeah, they probably
or
did.
they edited some things. But I've always said, like with Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner, never once me watching the Roadrunner did I ever drop an anvil on anyone. So, uh, you know,
Because
I
that's
guess
a
that's okay. But
yeah. Okay.
you gotta have safety around anvils. If you see an anvil, don't go under it. And if it's as somebody's made a joke on the internet when they see with the pandemic, the little X spot for you on the floor for you to stand so you're social distancing, said I've seen too many Roadrunner films to know
Yeah,
you
right.
don't stand on the X.
Right, and
And
that's what's great is like you and I both grew up on watching Looney Tunes,
oh
and
yeah.
and I hope every generation has after us too, including this one, and this will help. Thank you, HBO.
One that's exciting to me, and I knew some of these films because I always get nominated, but it's Studio Ghibli. I said it right, didn't I?
Here's the thing: there is no wrong way to pronounce it. I'll start by saying that. However,
Maybe it
it
is Gibby. I
no,
don't.
okay. So Ghibli is. I'll tell you the story. If you got a
Tell me the
moment.
story. I got all the time in the world.
All right. So, Hayao Miyazaki, I think is how you say his name. he wrote and directed most of the classics from the studio. Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, Howl's Moving Castle, Wind Rises, all the classics. It's him, and he's one of the co-founders of the studio. And his father was, I believe, he worked in an airplane factory, so he had this, affinity for planes, and you see that in his films. But he took the name from an Italian plane, and in Italian it is pronounced Ghibli. However, see, that's why that is correct. However, the way that
a happy accident.
However, Miyazaki and the Japanese people in the studio, and they call it Ghibli, and it's actually more like gibbery, but to kind of make it English more so.
Right.
It's more like Ghibli. So they say the J, Italians say the G. So both ways are correct depending on how you want to think about it. The origin is Ghibli, however, Miyazaki and the Japanese say Ghibli. So it is what it is. So I'll say Ghibli because I just want to have respect for the studio. But it's teaches
some of these films were Oscar nominees or even winners, I think.
I believe Spirited
Away, Kiki's Delivery Service, and some of these I haven't seen in a while. I've seen parts of them. Howl's Moving Castle, Ponyo, Princess Monaco. I'm sorry, I'm saying that
Monaco. Mononoke. That's my favorite one. That was actually the film that introduced me to Studio Ghibli, was Princess Mononoke. So that one is probably my favorite of all of them. It doesn't quite get the recognition that some of the others get, but that's fine.
Castle in the Sky. And this one right here, this is the one I was telling you about. I'm going to pull it up on the screen here so you can see a picture of it, called Ocean Waves. And it's rarely seen outside Japan. Ocean Waves is a poignant and wonderfully detailed story of teenage isolation, bathed in a palette of soft pastel colors and rich in the visual details typical of Studio Ghibli's most revered works.
Either way
is a true discovery. So that might be one to check out. There's a lot in here. I have on my list. Basically, I came to find out when I was making my list, going through all the different things, all the different things that are offered, like DC, Turner Classic Movies, and everything else. It was almost easier just to go to the actual thing where they have them, like Turner Classic Movies, and say, okay, it's like pick the ones you don't want to watch.
Right. They've got the little hubs there for you already.
Yeah. So that's going to be an education for me. A lot of anime. Now, I don't know where Akira falls into any of this. It's not on there. I don't think it's Studio Ghibli, but it's
not. And I think if it were to ever show up, it would be maybe under Crunchyroll, because that's where all the anime is. So that's another part of their animated section is Crunchyroll, and it's all anime. But I did not see Akira.
Yeah, that's like one of the first things I searched for. And there's not many things on here, just initially for that, but, for Crunchyroll. But I'm going to be checking that out too. There's a lot of stuff I can watch on there. I know I'm going to enjoy probably. Every genre you can think of. There's Sesame Street or Sesame Workhouse.
Sesame Workshop.
Workshop, not Workhouse. That's not
child labor laws.
I did not mean that.
So yeah, they've got a great section there, and it's all like learning tools.
Awesome.
To help with kids, and then there's the Elmo show on there as well, and and then they've got cartoons for adults too up there.
Yeah,
with Cartoon Network and Adult Swim, Adventure Time, Powerpuff Girls, Teen Titans, those are all on Cartoon Network. And then you got Adult Swim, which a lot of people will flock there. I mean, Rick and Morty, all those, except for I think I don't think the new season's up there, but the first 3 are.
Yeah, I don't think the new one's up there yet.
What else is there on Adult
There's a
Swim?
Space Ghost, which I grew up watching Space Ghost. So,
Yeah. Coast to Coast.
Yeah, Aqua Teen is up there.
Hunger. Yeah. Which I never really got into. I had friends that did. But.
Yeah, I know of it, but of course, Robot Chicken, which I think is classic. I love it. And Boondocks is very deep show. Yeah, I like
Which
Boondocks.
they are doing a revival of it.
Well, good.
HBO Max original content.
I think it now is a good time for Boondocks. It really is. It's so ahead of its time. And then we already mentioned Crunchyroll, which has a lot of anime on there. So what's upcoming on HBO Max?
So they've got a lot of stuff in the works. Obviously, pandemic's probably slowed some of this down, but these were all the biggest productions they had going on. There's a thing called Americana, Lupita Nyong'o and Denai Guerrilla. So you got Michonne and what's Nyong'o's name in Black Panther? But anyway, they're both in Black Panther.
Okoye?
But now they
It's Okoye?
maybe. Anyway, but they're going to team up and do this
Let me know in the comments. Tear me up in the comments there for not knowing that.
So they're teaming up to do a film there. The Boondocks revival, as I mentioned. Mindy Kaling will have a series called College Girls. DC Superhero High. I believe Elizabeth Banks is attached with that.
Do you remember the Kirk Douglas film? Kirk Douglas, no. Kurt.
I know what you're Russell Sky High.
Yes, I was thinking of Sky High.
Yeah,
I wonder if it's similar.
That's what it sounds like, doesn't it?
Yeah, it made me think of that. And
then
yeah,
go ahead.
No, I said the small little film no one's ever heard of called Dune.
Well, no, this is actually supposed to be a companion piece. So Denis Villeneuve is going to release Dune in the theaters. But evidently, this series, Dune: The Sisterhood, is supposed to be a companion piece to the film. So that'll be pretty cool. And then there's
check that out.
Yeah, and then a J.J. Abrams series called Duster. Mm-hmm. Kaylee Cuoco doing her first role since The Big Bang Theory in The Flight Attendant. HBO giving Lena Dunham another show after Girls called Generation. The next one would be interesting. I'm not sure what they're doing here, but Grease Rydell High. So I don't know if it's going to be a reboot, if they're going to, actually bring back the cast. Who knows? I don't know much about that one. Then the next one, they want to do a redo here. Green Lantern. there's Green Lantern.
Yeah, I mean, it could be Green Lantern Corps, could be, I don't know. They're talking about it, and there's a lot up in the air still about it, but there'll be some form of Green Lantern on there. And, if Green Lantern doesn't show up in the Snyder Cut, or even if it does, he does.
Well, maybe he could set that up. Maybe it would be a jumping point. Who knows?
Possibly. And probably the most important thing ever, Head of the Class reboot.
Because everybody's asking for it.
Right.
Which I'll admit, I watched it. I loved it. I've probably watched every episode. But it is kind of funny. It's like we're all clamoring for a Head of the Class reboot, right?
Right. Why not? What else is going on in the world? We need Head of the Class back. And Justice League Dark, which they've done in the comics, so it could be very interesting. And this could be something like The Boys on help me out. Prime, which September 4th, I can't wait for that to come back. That's going to be awesome for this season. Coming up, just previews of what we've seen. That's a fantastic show. It's kind of it's very disturbing at times, but it's it's good. It's really good. It's looking forward to Justice League Dark. There's of course Justice League the Snyder Cut. So I think he's getting $20-30 million to finish it, and Zack Snyder's been letting things leak out online, of what he's doing.
If the internet was ever good for something, right?
Yeah, I
It
mean,
gave us
release
a
the
Snyder
Snyder
Cut.
cut, and you're probably one of those people that said, "We're just give up on the Snyder cut." There were a lot of people that said that. And I was like kind of secretly holding out. Yeah, I want to see it because
No,
Justice League
I
was
don't think I ever said it about that. I think I said
in.
it about the Lucas cut when you were talking about, or
Oh well, that's
earlier.
come since. I mean, the Snyder cut started, after Justice
Right.
League came out, and I mean, it did okay, but it still bombed, and it was a disaster the way the film was put together, and they tried to patch it. They should have just, I don't know, waited or something. I don't
It
know, but
really seemed the editing does seem to be a major problem with the DC films. Just I feel like if you cut together those films a little differently, you can have a better outcome. I mean, maybe not entirely
yeah,
better,
the fact
but
that
better.
James Gunn went ahead and did another Suicide Squad, and that's
So weird, but
that's
okay.
gonna be strange and weird, and I don't know. I still feel there's momentum at DC, and we're coming off of Joker and everything else, and but having this lull of 2020 where we're into August now and nothing's happened in the last 5 months, and we're getting close to trying to start up the studios and everything and productions, trying to figure out how we move forward as an industry. And um, it'll be interesting to see, where all this lands, and what we can put together, because doesn't it seem like forever that 2019 was here and we had Endgame, and it feels like Marvel was years ago. It's like
Yeah.
2019 feels like years ago, because I think we've all aged about 10 years during 2020 so far.
Yeah.
But it'll be good to when things start rolling again. Anna Kendrick, am I right here? Love Life,
Yeah, I think that one's actually
the show.
already up there.
Okay.
As a series, so for Anna Kendrick fans out there, she's got a show up there. There's going to be a comedy with Ray Romano called Made for Love, and then a Stephen King show called
Which
Overlook.
sounds interesting. Overlook. Do you know what that's about? I'm
Just
not hip to that.
vaguely because well, the Overlook I'm pretty sure is tied to The Shining, but I'm maybe
Okay.
a little rusty there. But
Are you excited for it's coming on HBO this weekend? Maybe tomorrow, as we're recording this on August 13th.
oh, Lovecraft.
Lovecraft Country. Yeah,
Yeah.
that looks very interesting.
I'm
Jordan Peele, I think.
Yeah, it's Jordan Peele
Mhm.
and J.J. Abrams, maybe.
I think Abrams has something to do with it. But
So it'll be interesting to see what kind of show it is, because it looks like it's got elements of sci-fi, got elements of horror.
yeah,
So it'll be interesting to see the genre and how, like, the tone of the show. Yeah.
like a film I was very interested to see that we've talked about, Antebellum, and we saw the trailers for that, and of course it hasn't come out yet. I don't know when the release date on that's going to be now, but it gave me a feel when I saw Lovecraft Country that it's maybe has some similarities. It may not be a fair comparison, but
Yeah, we'll see. You have
we'll
to
see. We'll totally see.
wait wait till
And
it's released. Yeah. No.
yeah,
Yeah.
neither of those are on HBO Max, so that was my tangent. But those are
Well, they
films I'm
will be.
interested to see. Yeah,
Well,
they
I don't
will
know
be.
about
Well, I
Antebellum,
don't
but
know.
Lovecraft Country will be.
Yeah. Um, so where did we leave off? Let's see. So
Oh,
Santa Incorporated.
yes. So I'm looking forward to this, especially when the two leads on this are Seth Rogen and Sarah Silverman. So
Wow.
basically, the two most Jewish people you could think of in a
I never thought of that angle. I didn't
in a
think about
film
it.
called Santa Inc. So
You
I'm
can
curious
say
to
that. I can't.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. I am a member of the tribe, so I can say that.
There you go.
Um, but yeah, so I'm looking forward to that and what angle they take with that. But
Mhm.
so that's upcoming. Another DC show they're going to be making is Strange Adventures. You know much about that one?
I don't know anything about that. I'm
Okay.
ashamed that I
Me
don't.
neither. I just saw that was on the list. So I think it's going to be kind of like an anthology, each week a different
So,
story.
I feel like looking it up right now as we're recording, but I won't.
No,
Um,
yeah, because we're almost done. We're about wrapped up. The last thing that they've
yeah.
been talking about it for a while is this supposed Friends reunion. I don't know how much your viewers
Now,
believe.
I
hear
was
about that.
wondering about that because you have Jennifer Aniston who's got nominated for the Morning Report or whatever that's on iTunes, Apple iTunes, whatever it's called, TV.
Sure. The details are a
That
little
no one
off
has that
there,
I know.
but
I'm sure I'm way off.
the morning show
The morning
on
show.
Apple Plus. Yeah. So you got. Uh,
I'm not even close.
no, they were close.
She's in the show, some show on Apple TV that I can't have access to, that I'm not going to
Oh, I
pay
didn't
to
even get
get
it right.
access.
Is it Apple TV? Who knows?
I
We don't
don't know
have
what
that
it
one.
is called. Yeah, we don't have that service, so don't know. You have to let us know in the comments what it is. But I
But
didn't know
you had a thought
Friends
there.
would be. Yeah, there was a thought that because Aniston is on Apple, why is the Friends reunion not on Apple, and why is it going to
Oh,
be on
well.
HBO Max? But I don't know. At
I
least I'll
think.
get to see it if it's on
Well, I
HBO
just think
Max.
that I feel like Friends. You might want to check on there, but I'm pretty sure the Friends, the entirety of Friends is on HBO Max. Now it used to be on Netflix, and now it's on
So
HBO
now it's
Max.
moved over. Yeah.
But see, I feel like they were talking about, how stupid would it be to have a reunion when they're all on Zoom? So you can't have the reunion until you can actually safely do it and actually be in the same room together.
Yeah.
Because that's what they were planning on doing. They weren't going to shoot a new series. They were just going to get together and talk. It would be like a
Now this is
2-hour reunion
totally
special. So.
off the plan here, but
No
all but
way.
maybe one or two actors. Yeah, this was a couple of weeks ago. I saw it on YouTube and watched some of it. Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and they had the director on there and everybody, and they made just Michael Cera and
That's
Anna Kendrick, and they did
Ed,
a Zoom
that's Edgar
reading
Wright,
of the
right?
entire film, and
Isn't the director Edgar Wright?
I
Is
think it
that
was
the
Edgar Wright. I
guy
believe
that did
so.
Baby Driver and Shaun of
Hmm.
Dead?
Which are fantastic, all fantastic films. Yeah,
Yeah, he's awesome.
and it was so funny. At first it was a little rigid, and I was like, then you start imagining these scenes in their head, and they do a great job of reenacting it. And Michael Cera just looks like Michael Cera. He hasn't really aged much, and you got Anna Kendrick and other great people. I love Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Nobody understands, but I just I don't know. It's just a really cool movie. It's one of my movies, one of my quotable movies that I would definitely can spring up quotes for. But it's fantastic, and I don't know what I was leading to on that, but it just
Nope.
is there.
There's
And
There's
check
your
it
Ed
out.
tangent.
There's
This
my
ep-
Ed
this
tangent.
this week's Ed tangent.
And there's only one. All right.
Yeah.
So that wraps up, I think, pretty much our overview of what's the new content on HBO Max. Like I said, like we said, if you subscribe to HBO, you get it for free, the HBO Max. And I thought they were going to charge you on top of, free in quotations. I thought they were going to charge you an additional amount on top of
Right.
HBO, and I'm like, well, that makes no
No,
sense.
I was afraid of that too, but you're right. It makes no sense. So
Yeah,
it's just kind of a roundabout way. You have to access the app. And
right.
if you're watching through your cable box, you can't do that. But I don't know how many people watch it that way anyway. So.
Well, we're going to touch on just real quickly before we end this, and please leave your comments and questions, and give us a thumbs up on the video here when you see it on YouTube, on the Geek Homeworld channel, or wherever else you happen to stumble upon it. Geek Homeworld at Facebook.com or wherever it is, on the Facebook page. Anyway, so we're talking about some other services like Netflix. In films, what are we watching? What are some of the
Yeah,
things that are?
so, obviously, if you don't want to shell out that money for HBO Max and you've already got some of these other streaming contents, what should you be watching? And so on Netflix, I think the top choice right now is The Old Guard, Charlize
Fantastic
Theron
film.
film. Yeah.
I loved it. I
You
want a
also, if you
sequel.
want I, it did well. People watched it. It was one of the most successful, if not the most successful one. I think it may have. I don't know. They release their numbers that much, but
And
I'm
it's a
pretty sure it
strong.
was one of the most watched ever. So.
Well, I think every time they release a new movie, it's the most watched ever in the history of
Yeah,
Netflix,
right.
because the last one was
Which
was
we're
the
all
which was the Russo brothers one they did with Chris Hemsworth. not extradition. What was it?
I can't
Extraction.
remember, but
Extraction.
yeah, I think that's what it was called.
I enjoyed it. I mean, really cool. I mean, good action.
It's a good action, and that's what it seems that Netflix is doing well right now, are
Yeah, and
good action flicks, and then also decent comedies. They've
yeah.
got the Will Ferrell and I always get her confused with Elizabeth Banks. You know, the other the actress. Dang it.
Oprah.
No, that's
No.
not.
Okay.
It's okay. The new it'll come to me eventually. The Will Ferrell film Eurovision looks kind of funny if you
Anything
like
with him
Ferrell.
is interesting to me.
And then The Wrong Missy did really well. That was a David Spade film.
I haven't
So
seen that.
there's there's a couple of comedies, and then we talked about it briefly on one of the last shows. I think Defy Bloods, the
Mhm.
Spike Lee film. That is probably one of the better critically reviewed shows. Getting good reviews this year, and there haven't
Mhm.
really been a lot of those Oscar type
Right.
movies,
Oscars.
and that one kind of qualifies. Although it's my opinion now, let's just not even have an Oscars for 2020. I'm sorry for the films in 2020, but
Looks like we may or may not have a football season, baseball season, hockey. I don't know. Let's just
they're plugging away in baseball.
we're going to have
Knock on
Oscars
wood.
for 2020. That's going to happen in 2021. That's going to also include part of 2021,
It's gonna be
which is
weird.
going to
Yeah.
be weird. And it's just, there's that asterisk by everything in 2020. It's just one big asterisk.
Yeah.
Maybe we can go back and control alt delete 2020 at some point and just do it right. Make 2021 better.
hmm
Um,
But
uh,
also on Netflix usually has good documentaries.
yeah.
One that's been that's gotten some award recognition is Miss Americana. It's a Taylor Swift one. I've not watched it, but it's actually critics really really enjoy it. So curious to see why. Not that I don't like Taylor Swift. It's just never really that big into her. So we'll see.
Same here.
And then you got Athlete A, which I don't know if I can watch. It's a tough subject. It's about the sexual abuse that went on in the USA gymnastics program and at Michigan State.
An important film, though.
Yeah, it is. So I think everybody probably should watch it just to be to get the full story. And then
Right.
there's another documentary, Fear City. It's New York and the mob, another mafia film, or not film, but docu
And
series.
the next one I want to see, it looks like it could be a lot of fun. Zac Efron, Down to Earth.
Yeah, it
And
looks like he's just
yeah,
traveling the globe and having learning things, and hey, that's an easy watch, isn't it?
yeah,
You don't have to think too hard. Could even learn, and yeah.
yeah. It just looked pretty cool. Now, one of the stand-up specials that we, I don't know if we stumbled upon it, but we watched it, and then you saw it too. Um, Jim Jeffries, and I can't remember what the name of it was, but my wife was saying it's one of the funniest ones she's come across in a long time. I mean, we were just both laughing. We're just like, and this guy is he
He's all
Australian?
he's Australian. He's great. Yeah, he's got a
Yeah,
great timing, great wit. Really insightful. Without being too political. It is political, but it's still not.
and it's
You know,
raunchy, but it's not.
yeah, he can be.
Yeah,
But yeah, his
but
new
it's
one is
funny.
great. But I feel like they've got all of his stuff up on
I
Netflix,
did
and
see a
check that
bunch of
out.
his specials on there, and it
He
makes me want to go back and watch some of those. And I feel like I might have seen some of his stuff before because he seemed vaguely familiar, but
he had a sitcom that was on FX at one time too. So I don't know if
oh,
that's up there on Netflix. If it's not on Netflix, it should definitely be on Hulu because Hulu's got that deal with FX. So
right. Um, like shows, you can discover a lot of old shows on there too, on Netflix.
yeah, there's so much content on Netflix that you'll forget that you put something in your queue 2 years ago, and it's like I'm going back and being like, oh, I never finished House of Cards. Yeah, there's a little bit of problem with House of Cards, obviously, but
Yeah,
it's like I need to go back and finish those seasons, or it maybe not even that. If you haven't seen Glow, You love Grace and Frankie. It's like shows that,
I think Grace and Frankie is the longest running Netflix series ever. And
is it?
it's yeah, and it's because I think it's got six seasons or something like that.
Yeah, it's been on for a while.
And I mean, just Jane Fonda, and then you've got Jane Fonda, and you've got um,
Lily Tomlin.
thank you.
Yeah.
I'm having one of her moments in the
I haven't
show.
even watched the show.
And yeah, Lily Tomlin is so much of a hippie. It's so funny. And then um,
Yeah.
Jane Fonda is so rigid, and they just play like perfect opposites. And they're just really, it's about their friendship, and it's a little racy, and there's some things in there that are racy, and it's not what you think, and we're not going to mention that here, but it's not exactly what you think. When I told them one of the products they were trying to sell, you have no idea what's coming, but it's not what you think. It's really not what you think, but it's
So,
a very funny show. It's a very
there's
modern type of family, without saying modern well, it is like Modern Family, but it's hilarious in that vein. And it's a fun series, and you find yourself laughing, and it might not be laughing all the time, but it's an enjoyable series. I think it's well written, and it's clever,
so
and
there's
it's fun.
shows like that, even shows that aren't even making seasons anymore. You'll
Right.
find, they've done a lot of great little limited series. But I just finished watching season 3 of Ozark, and that one is, there are going to be more seasons, and that is maybe one of the best shows Netflix has ever done.
Wow.
And I
And that
love
was
that.
filmed partially here in Savannah.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Some of it was filmed here in Savannah. The majority of it was filmed around Atlanta in that area.
Okay.
But they came down here to shoot a few scenes. So when you see one of the river boats blow up, that's Savannah. Woo!
Yeah. But so we
But
have
yeah,
another.
so
Yeah.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Yeah.
Another service is Hulu, which when we signed up for the Disney Plus, I asked the wife from the other room, was like, "Do we need Hulu?" And she looked at it. She's like, "No, we don't need it because it's got ESPN with it and all that. We don't need all that. We just need Disney Plus." And she's like, "You handle it." And so I handled it, and then we got it. And then she's like, "Well, I want to watch this on Hulu." I was like, "Well, we didn't sign up for Hulu. You told me to do it." So I don't know what I signed up for, but we don't have Hulu. So
Yeah. Well, I would say that the content isn't as in depth. It doesn't. It's not as expansive as some of the others. There's some good stuff on there. Andy Samberg's new film with Christina Milioti called Palm Springs. It's kind of a take on Groundhog Day. Got some decent
oh yeah,
reviews, and I enjoyed it. I mean, again, not quite Oscar movie, but it was still enjoyable and an easy watch at home. And then they've got a lot of shows that were nominated for Emmys, not quite as many as Netflix or HBO, but the Kerry Washington's show Little Fires Everywhere. I think Reese Witherspoon is part of that as well. Rami won couple of Golden Globes, I believe. So it's up for some Emmys.
mm-hmm.
The Great, I think it was a Catherine the Great show with Elle Fanning. Probably got nominated for costume stuff.
Right.
For the looks of it. And, of course, their maiden ship is The Handmaid's Tale. If
Yeah,
people
which
haven't seen that, that's
that's
another one that's hard to watch. But then again, it's important and well
it's
acted, well
yeah,
written, well directed. Well
it's been a
shot.
big hit. The documentary Hillary is one of their
Yes,
documentaries
that's
coming out.
got some Emmy nominations. I haven't watched it yet. I've tried to stay non-political as much as possible, but we may watch that. We'll see.
Yeah, FX on Hulu.
Yeah, FX on Hulu. That's a big deal. Basically, all of FX's catalog is now on Hulu, and then there's going to be there's exclusive content to HBO Max. There's going to be exclusive content to FX on Hulu. One of those type shows was Mrs. America, which was a limited series with Kate Blanchett, Sarah
Mm-hmm.
Paulson about the Equal Rights Amendment. That was really well done, up for a bunch of awards, but that's one of those that's only available on Hulu. What We Do in the Shadows is another great. That's Taika Waititi.
Wow.
His show that was based on the film that he directed. That one's up there on FX as well. So there's some good stuff up on Hulu. Maybe not as much, but still good stuff to find there.
And then we've got Prime, which I I enjoy the content on Prime, but I hate the interface.
The
I hate the
interface,
PlayStation kind of interface where you have to search by letter. It's kind of like I hate that.
it is lacking, and right now they've kind of slowed down. They haven't released a lot of new seasons, new films, or anything.
Yeah.
We may see more stuff here soon, but really not a lot. I mean, in the
Well,
way of films,
The Boys is going to be big because
right? And that's in
it's a
what, a
very
few
popular
weeks.
series.
So
Yeah, September 4th. So that's like my main thing I want to see on there. There's a lot of other great stuff. Um, like for films, there's what Radioactive.
yes, and that has to do with Marie Curie. Rosamund Pike from Gone Girl is probably what you know her from.
Okay.
She plays Marie Curie. She's a great actress, so that could be a really good film. That's up there now. Vivarium, it looked like an interesting film with Jesse Eisenberg, kind of a puzzler thriller kind of film.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you want more comedy or kids film, My Spy with Dave Bautista and the little girl. That one could be a nice lighthearted movie for you.
Oh yeah,
They
we saw My Spy.
Okay, was it good?
It was fun. It was
Yeah.
okay. It was a cute movie. You got to take it for what it is, and
Right, exactly.
and all that. Shows and documentaries. What do we got there on Prime?
Yeah, other than Boys, it's been kind of slow, but they did release the new season of Hannah, which is based on the film Hannah with Saoirse Ronan and Kate Blanchett, which I love the film. Which kind of made me not watch the show in a way because I just didn't want to watch somebody else play those roles.
I can understand that.
Um, but I'll give it a go. It's gotten decent reviews, and then there's a new documentary, The Last Narc, another crime show. Everybody loves a good true crime show, right?
Right. And the last service to talk about is Apple Plus. So that's the name of it, Apple Plus.
TV, I don't know. I put the plus there, and I'm probably
it's probably Apple, whatever the Apple service is that we're not paying for.
and and it was kind of an afterthought because we don't have those services. But the Tom Hanks film Greyhound sounds like it's great, but I don't know if I'll ever see it because I'm not on iTunes or Apple TV. But
that upsets me greatly because I was looking forward to that, and it's Tom Hanks, but it looked like a really good film, and I'm sure it is. Maybe because I saw and we're going to talk on another episode about AMC coming back because we all got the emails today. Well, last night you texted me, check your email. There's AMC news. And I went and checked it, and then they're coming back, and later this month, and it's going to be interesting. They've got a lot of old films and different things and ways they're doing things, and so we can all get back to the theaters. I'm still apprehensive, but we'll see. And so. When I saw
we'll get the protocol down. It looks like AMC is going to block off every other row. The times that I go to the theater aren't the busy times anyway, so it probably won't affect my viewing that much.
Right.
But yeah, if you want to go on a Friday or Saturday night, it's going to be weird. Like you're not going to want to sit right next to somebody. And then you've got every row.
We're so changed by this pandemic. At least I am. We are now conditioned to wear masks, and however you feel about that, wear a mask. But they're going to do everything I believe in their power because they need the people back in the seats. It's been what, 5 April, May, June, July.
It was March, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was so like 5 months, almost 6 months with theaters closed. And we've seen in our own town a bunch of small businesses, and we live in a pretty decent sized town here, closed down. And we still aren't out of the woods on this pandemic. We're not out of the woods on all of this. There's probably more to come, unfortunately, but we've got to find a way back, and we got to do it safely, I think. And I believe AMC is going to do the best that they can because they want return business. That's how you make your money, return business. And people got to return to the theaters because we
Well,
don't.
I did. Did you
Yeah.
read the email and complete?
I have it here. Do you want to talk about it, or I mean, we've been
Well,
running
no,
about an
not
hour,
not
or save
linked.
it for another episode?
Yeah, this will go on forever. But they did.
Right.
They did have one thing where they're going to cut costs. They can pass it off as being, we're being safe and don't want to, spread infection and everything. But for large popcorn and drinks, there's no refill anymore. So that's people aren't
What
going to
happens to
like
my
that.
bucket that I had? We've been looking at our
No,
bucket that we bought, because we don't eat popcorn usually until we go to the theater, and then we eat way too much because you're supposed to do that when you watch a movie. It's just part of the experience. And
but we digress because we'll do a
yeah,
whole episode on that. We can
yeah.
talk. We'll talk about that.
We've run a little bit long on this one, but it's important. What's coming up, in HBO Max impressed me enough that I felt we needed to do an episode. And I want to thank everybody. I was looking at the stats the other day. All of a sudden, I've done zero promotion for the podcast, but we've had some very big upticks in our numbers. So I appreciate people that are checking us out and checking about our back catalog at geekhomeworld.libsyn.com. We're on iTunes or Apple Podcast. We're on Google Podcast. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us everywhere. And go on over to our YouTube channel, like that, subscribe, thumbs up on some videos there. We're going to be doing more of these video episodes now that that's a thing that we can do. And so that's all I got. And I'm about to roll the outro. If there's anything else you want to say, sir.
That's it. Thanks for having me on, buddy.
Thanks for being back. And everybody take care. Goodbye. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Geek Homeworld with your host, Savage Tech Man. You can find us on Libsyn, Google+, follow and interact with us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, listen to us on iTunes and leave a review, subscribe to us on YouTube, read our thoughts on blog. See you again on the Geek Homeworld.